Alrighty.
Yeah, that's better. So hello. Did you have a nice lunch? Yes, good. So let's talk about the important things in life. SuperOffice news, product news. To the not yet released, we have to talk a bit about just arriving stuff. And these are the things that are arriving these days. And now you said, didn't you listen to what Guttorm said? Jesus, no more features and functions now at the moment. Please keep them away. But just this then. Then we will stop for a while, going back to improving. I would like to mention them just quickly so that you have a notion of what I mean. The first thing we deliver or has delivered, we are advocating for pilot customers in production in online. So if you have those kind of pilot customers or you are one yourself, please notify us. It's also known as Super ID. You might know it. It's a new authentication method for CRM Online to start with. It's based on OAuth 2.0. You can choose between 3 different identity providers, either SuperOffice username and password, as you know it. You can use Microsoft Azure Active Directory as your authentication provider, or Google Sign-in, like G Suite. This enables you, if you have Office 365 or G Suite, this of course enables you to activate multi-factor authentication, which some people are asking for. That means, you all know what it means. It means login, username, password, get a message on your phone, type it in, and stay logged in at this computer for a while. That kind of feature sets will come with it. The login to SuperOffice is linear. Sometimes you don't see the login screen at all, because if you're already are using Office 365 authentication, for example, if you then log in your Outlook web or SharePoint, then you start SuperOffice and you will go directly into SuperOffice, because the browser keeps that authenticated session alive. And it is a bit linear for administrators and stuff. If you say that this person has now left the company in Active Directory, he will no longer be able to log in SuperOffice automatically. So there are some pros and cons, but these are important stuff when it comes to security and to the login experience for customers. Zapier Connect, that's loud. Zapier Connect is, Marek showed an example of what it could be used for. It will be a session tomorrow talking about the details and examples and inspiration of what you can connect. So I will leave the thunder of that part to these guys. In August and September, we have been quite busy working on the ERP sync, revisiting the feature set of the ERP sync that we provide. We have implemented better error messages so that connectors can get better errors back and interpret them and give good messages. More fields are available for synchronization, like stop and all these kind of fields inside SuperOffice. We have a new resync feature that's basically a panic button, recover, resync everything because someone restored a backup in some way, so reconnect everything. We have improved the performance on import, because the first time you import 10,000 customers to from your ERP system, it's good that it takes half the time than it used before. And the biggest feature, of course, is what people have always asked for. We want to synchronize list items between ERP and CRM. So an A customer and a B customer in SuperOffice is mapped towards a customer in your ERP system. So that list synchronization is now in place, and you can synchronize anything, any list available on the contact card, person card, and project card. So that's the news. This will be rolled out this weekend, so every customer have these capabilities this weekend in online, and it will be launched in the next on-site release also. You of course need an updated connector to do this, but that's provided by your connector vendor. But it's live and good to go. Then there is the big new things. To us, this is maybe the biggest feature we launched or are going to launch this year. And for those of you who don't know what it is, I'm trying to show you 2 use cases of it. And by the way, Gisle, that's that slogan you need to reconsider, okay? Yeah. Too late. Okay, so let me have 2 quick examples of what Forms is all about. The first one is aimed to be what we call the fully automatic. It means your website visitors do not do everything themselves. You are not used as a SuperOffice user involved in it at all. So I have a website here. This website, I have integrated a script tag that loads a form from SuperOffice, and it says sign me up for news. That's a typical use case that you're used to, right? And you say here that this is Tony Bull. And this is TB at acme.jesuschrist.no. And this guy works in Acme. Yes. Okay. He would like to be notified about product news. He would like to receive his news by email, and he accepts the privacy policy, which is shortly described, read from your CRM system and taken in, and he said submit. Then it comes, thank you for signing up. That's all. That's all this user does, and that's all he needs to do. In SuperOffice, there's no need to do anything. So let's see how this ended up. If I'm here on Acme and I refresh this one, yeah, you have Tony Bill. It detected that he worked at Acme automatically. In this installation, you will see that you now have collected automatically consent for sales and service through a web form on that date, also in e-marketing on that date. You have interests mapped and e-marketing subscription product news, and you have the form submissions available on that person for historical moment. And of course then, the next time you are going to send out your product news, Tony Bill will be automatically there. So no need untouched by human hands. So this is an example on things going directly into the CRM system, and they will be included in your existing processes. Good. Yeah, that's an easy one. So let's take another one that is more agent processing use case. In this situation, I am a person who sniffs around for cars, and I end up deciding to reserve my new car. It's a strange thing, I have to pay up months in front to get a car, but okay, I'll get in the line. This guy is Edward, and he is Gmail. Is that correct? No. Gmail.com. My typing skills are, as always, fantastic. 934666030. I live in Norway, and I hereby, no, this is not going to be company car, so this I hereby confirm and reserve my car. we have now turned over what we call a double opt-in. We are saying that you need to prove that you own this email address for us to continue to take this form into our system. So an email is then sent to the inbox of this person. Closes it. Let's see. It goes. No. Did I type it wrong? Is it spam? Is it updates? Is it not coming? One in spam. That's probably. No, it's not there. Maybe I have another one in the deleted items that I can show you. Why is it coming? Not secured. Does it have something to do with that? Okay, let's try it one more time to do it very quickly. This was the bookmarks, and you saw my car, and I say Edward. Sorry. It's going down as the perfect typo lesson. It's eide.erik@gmail.com. That correct? 90 something.
Check your email now.
Norway. One is coming. Oh. Google is busy. What can I say? Okay, so then it says, okay, you just received this reservation. Click this link to complete your submission. So that's actually what you do. You double up with this one, and it now says your reservation has been confirmed, and we will be in touch quite soon. In this situation, I have set up that this is quite important. Such a car costs us 350,000 NOK or something, so I, as an agent, as a salesperson, as a user, must be on top of this at any time. And in this case, we use service for not incoming notification, also in the sales team. So in service, I go here and see my last requests. And here is a new reservation for the Model X. And it then says, these are the data that came in. This here says that this is a form submission waiting for your approval. And all I need to do is then, of course, click here. And it comes up, let's increase that screen a bit. It comes up and say, this guy we know from before. We already know this email address. He works in the big spender company. So we automatically attached this form submission to this guy. And we also have a history here of his recent activities. So what I then do now is I say process. If I hit the right button, and it's done by me now. I have processed, verified that this is a person that we most likely will sell to, and done it, and this person has been updated correctly. If you go, easily to say what this guy, what was his name again, Edward. We can, of course, here see that he has submitted a form. The requests for him is available, and also a sale is automatically added to this person, saying that with a 90% chance, because when he pays up in front, there's a 90% chance that we will sell to this guy, And now you can continue this as a workflow with your sales process and continue to work with it. So that's the other end of what Forms is doing, initiating agent or user workflows immediately, collecting data and showing them to you. So maybe we should call Mr. Musk and tell him to buy the right CRM system. Yeah. Yeah. So seeing this, and we have thought about this forever, to say, who wouldn't want people to contact them through a website? Who doesn't already have some kind of form on their website? So you don't have to explain the concept of forms to people. Who wouldn't want to have this straight into the CRM system? Who doesn't want to collect privacy consents and subscriptions directly into the CRM system? Who wouldn't want to do this without heavy integration, out-of-the-box functionality? And who wouldn't want this for free? Honestly, we have no idea. And that's why we made Forms. So, if you want to know how to build them, show up tomorrow. We will go through these use cases, step by step, feature by feature, so we can do it. Tomorrow after lunch, I think, yeah. Okay, next up, picking up on Guttorm's topic, improve what we have. And the result of this process has come up with a kind of a backlog. And I would just tease you with some ideas, a couple of ideas that we have seen on this. It has been a challenging balance because you need to please everyone, and everyone has a different opinion on what's correct. But I see that the NPS feedback, the support, number of support requests, the feedback from our experienced product manager in different markets are, yeah, they are meeting. Some things are in common and something we just have to start up with. And to guide us, we often pick up this old product vision from 1990 that still stands, I think. If in doubt, look at this and decide what to do. So, some screenshots and as examples on ideas, you know, Gisle used to stealing my drawings and publish them as upcoming features. So these are, again, just ideas. First one, this is when you use the SuperOffice inbox. This is how a meeting invitation looks today. It should look more like this. It should be possible to see a preview, when is it, what is it, accept, reject directly, and it's send messages back and stuff. On the other hand, if you are using Outlook, not a SuperOffice user, God forbid, and you are using Outlook, this is how a meeting invitation looks today. It should look exactly like any other meeting invitations in Outlook. See that there's a difference where it is come from. So that's also a thing. And this is on the absolute top of what people want us to improve, without exception. The other thing is going in and talking to administrators having 1,000+ users. I've been invited, find this guy and said what role does he have. So we need to do something like this. We need to add a search thing where you can search across names and emails and we need to maybe move this to a sidebar, giving longer lists. We want to add service categories if this is a complete or a service user in the same UI, so we don't have to switch to another client to set those categories. So we want to make this more streamlined for every administrator that struggles with a lot of users. And a lot of users should be positive. And it is, so let's help them out doing things like that. And more will come. The list of IDs are pretty long, and it's positive input.
Go on.
Yeah, I'll go on. I will switch back to this topic. Have you heard something from Pocket lately? No, I have. I heard this. Pocket CRM is great for consuming data. It's somewhat useless to add or edit. And this is me then. Jesus. Now we have to meet that challenge and think, why or how can we do it? And we have to start somewhere. And to decide where to start, we have to figure out, and then we said, Jesus, we have all these good user statistics. What do people use in Pocket? And it says here, the blue line here is what is appointments edited and saved in Pocket. The other one, it's hard to differ, but so should we then make what people actually are struggling with better, or should we try to lift people from editing sales and stuff in Pocket? We have gone the other direction. So if 4,000 people are swearing every day to adding appointments into Pocket, we should address that first. And that was our idea to start up with. Let's see, let me switch to Pocket CRM here. There was you were here. Okay, here we have a Pocket CRM. By the way, do you know how it works today? No? Yeah, maybe, hopefully. This is Pocket CRM. I see after my extensive morning workout tomorrow, I have time off to do a new meeting. So I press new, and I start off. Okay, what company? The company isn't here yet. Big Spender was there. Contact, who was it? No one knows this. I have to search and find Edward. And then the time is, of course, not 23rd. What day was that? Yeah, let's go in and see. No, it's today. It was Wednesday, and it is at 11 o'clock. Done. And then I can continue. The only reason why not, yeah, so you see the point. Done, and you go through all this. Is there any more? Yes, I want to invite other people. Where do I do that? Oh, okay, I save. So you get the picture. So what we actually try to do then now is to take a totally different approach to that. Saying that, okay, I now see that, okay, Wednesday at 11, it's an opening. I click, I drag, I let go. And I'll go into the new way of doing appointments. So I then see, okay, type, the test, oh, sorry, test. Or I can just dictate some text into this appointment. Who am I meeting with? Yeah? I have them here in my history. I've been working with them. So I'm now going to meet with Mr. Big Spender. I would like to bring some of my favorite co-workers, and from this sales I want to add who are an OK. Then we see who am I meeting with, +3. If I'm curious about who 3, I click that. I can also easily add a location and say, yeah, this is meeting point 1 seems to be available at this time. And then say save. Is that an improvement of registering appointments? I actually think I would prefer this way of registering appointments in the future. But okay, you can of course say, oh, what about this user-defined field number 4 in appointment that I want to add? You decide. You can click on the arrow down here, or you can say, what should be the preferred fields I always see? Okay, so alarm is important to me, and that's pretty much it. And I say save. If I hit the buttons with my... So then alarm is set. Of course I can expand it to see any fields in an appointment. But basically I use these 3, and I will have that at a speed access. The same thing when I go in and have invitations. Okay, we have put this accept reject on the top so that this is the first thing that you see. I can get an overview of what we are going, planning the Christmas party, accept only this, all or nothing, all and done. So this is an example coming back to how improving what we have is more than just adding a button or having a left-click menu. It's all about taking a new approach to a certain process. And we hope to revisit those kind of scenarios more often in the time to come. So the game are done. That's the teasers on product functionality. I think you will have even more teaser when the next guy comes along. He will teach you about service and also the many cool new ways of integrating and expanding service in the future. So, Sverre, you're on.
Hello, hello. How are you guys? Good? You're still paying attention? I can tell you it's very special to stand here and being able, once again, to present some new features for you guys. I mean, it's kind of like being in the church, you're the audience, and this is the one time once a year when we get to, shine a bit and show what we're making in R&D. So, very excited to look at what we have. Is there any one of you who haven't really figured out what this year's topic is? What's this year's topic?
Topics around.
So, yeah, SuperOffice loves sustainable customizations. And that makes perfect sense because SuperOffice loves customizations. Any one of you who have visited a customer where they have a customized installation, you know that this solution is way more stuck with the customer, right? It supports better the processes and how they are working. Coffee? No. And so to get loyal customers and happy customers, it's important to customize. Our software is, off-the-shelf standardized. It just doesn't fit perfectly with every single process. So the customization part is very important. And then what's this fuss about the sustainability? You've heard this word a few times today. And when I'm thinking about, when I'm thinking about sustainability, I just keep thinking about something I learned back in school about an experiment. Does anyone here knows what the Standford Marshmellow experiment is? Yes? So back in the 60s and the 70s at Standford, the psychology researchers took kids into their department and they placed them in a room. In front of them was placed a marshmallow. And the kids were told, I'm going to leave the room, the psychology tester was going to leave the room, told the kid that you can have this marshmallow now, or if you wait for 15 minutes, you're going to get 2. And so they were seeing what kids managed to wait, and what kids just went for the marshmallow right away, only getting 1. And then they followed up on these kids 10, 20, 30 years after, and they tried to see how had these kids become, what kind of people had they become, right? And the kids who managed to wait and get the 2 marshmallows scored better on all levels of life. Better SAT, better health, better lives, better income, better everything, right? This is true. So, coming back to us, Yeah, I was supposed to go to this one while I was talking. Coming back to us, what's the moral of this? The moral is, the sustainability moral is, don't let the short-term goals screw up the long-term ones. And this is something we have been saying today multiple times. And I mean, you guys, you probably have your favorite customers and you do the customizations. I'm sure you guys are aware of this. I had a very good experience here not so long ago, meeting an old customer. So, Duet, are you guys here today? Yeah, they're sitting in their back row, so then I can't be lying. They became a customer in 2009, and we sent out a consultant who did a lot of customizations, right? So they wanted to have our software, SuperOffice eJournal or SuperOffice Service, but they had special processes they needed to have supported in their solution. That was not part of the out-of-the-box, right? So Duet is a company that's both an ASP and an ISV, right? So they're making software and they're also offering hosting environment to customers. And they needed support for project workflow. You guys remember the old new employee example of SuperOffice eJournal with relations between requests and that stuff? They needed change management, they needed CMDB, and an inventory database of all the infrastructure they're supporting. And they needed a license database and an SLA register. All of this is stuff that we don't have in our standard package. It was implemented by a consultant out there, and I used to remember it was the old joke about these guys, everything was integrated into SuperOffice but the coffee maker. And then I had a meeting with them a month ago. And they have been steadily upgrading since 2009, and they're currently running on one of the latest versions. And they said all of these customizations, they just keep working. 9 years, and the customizations have just been working throughout all the new versions we have come with. And so I think that's prime example of sustainable customizations, right? They are happy because our software is supporting critical business processes in their company. And we're happy because we keep offering them new versions of the software and it works because the customizations are stable. So I think that's a good example of a customer who's done well with this. And so this sustainability thing is really a teamwork because it was both the consultant who went out there, he did things the right way, but obviously he needed also to have with him a toolbox that is stable and that we haven't damaged over the years, right? That's very important as well, that he needs to work with good processes and do things not with duct tape and rubber band, but do things the right way. And then we need to supply you guys with tools. And if we don't give you good tools, I know how it works. Then at the end of the day, you need to satisfy the customer and you will use that rubber band or that duct tape, right? So our mission, our goal is obviously to work with the tools that we need to supply you with. And to be honest, I think that if we go a few years back, the only tool you had was this. So, slightly powerful, right? But you could do things with it. I think in the SuperOffice ecosystem, we have some customers where we have done modifications using this. And it's kind of expensive, right? Because you really need to go in a brutal way. What we need to offer you, and you guys are of course getting the analogy, we need to offer you the smaller hammer and even the little toy hammer. So that when you're out there and you're making customizations, well, if it's a complicated, very big customization, then maybe you need the power tools. But to be honest, I think that very often when you guys are out there and you're talking to the customers, they would like some simple customizations, you know. Can I just have a business rule that says, don't save this appointment if this field is not filled out? Or, you know, if it's customer in category A, then the sale cannot be lower than 10,000. I don't know, some simple rules like that. And for those simple customizations, we should supply you with good tools for doing precisely that. And so, if we look at Guttorm's slide, which is, you know, talking about the different tools we are supplying on different levels, obviously we want to make better stuff for you guys all over this. And we have some cool stuff that Tony is going to show later today on APIs. But in general, I think we should be able to move you down to the left, right? So, you know, you shouldn't have to use APIs if you can use scripts. You shouldn't have to use scripts if you can use a configuration. Even inside the boxes, we want you down to the left, right? So instead of a huge CRM script, it should be a small CRM script. Things like that. And so what does this really mean? Well, more configuration and less customization, right? We want smaller and more precise customizations. We want to be able to use macros instead of CRMScript. We want CRMScripts to be smaller and more compact because honestly, typing is not that fun. And better tools. So that's kind of what I think we need to work on. And so this is kind of the strategy part. And the rest of my presentation, since this is Expander World, and we always think it's fun to show you guys some real stuff at Expander World, the rest of the presentation is just a small candy ball of various improvements we've done in the latest release. Obviously, you haven't seen too much of this yet, otherwise we wouldn't be able to surprise you. And so that's what I'm going to show you now. A few demos. So let's start with more configuration and less customization. What is the single most important screen in service? Which one? Yeah, view request, view ticket, right? And so it looks like this. And people are spending hours and hours and hours in this screen, and what we are hearing is that if there's a lot of messages, it's kind of difficult to get a good overview. And as a consequence, consultants go and they make more tabs that shows maybe the first and the last message, or maybe just attachments or things like that, right? And we can see that when you want to navigate this screen and you want to get an overview, I was talking to Kalle and he said, you know, I can have 40 messages. How do I navigate? And you can collapse them, as you all know, but then you need to open one and second one and, you know, try to find the right one. So this is not perfect. So in the latest version, we have introduced some new features. So, see the small flag there? Now you can flag a message as important. And then when you scroll to the top, there's a small filter. So now you can see all the messages, or if you want to, you can get to see the first and the last, because that's usually the question and answer part. Or you can see only the messages that has attachments in them, or you can see the messages that have been flagged. So a small feature that I think will help users in their everyday use. Does anyone know what the edit entity component is in our user interface? And you guys, I see the nodding heads. So the edit entity component is this guy, right? It's the one that got introduced in version 8, which allows you to quickly edit a few favorite properties of the entity you're looking at, as well as it contains the menu there. I have been told that this component, since you're kind of stuck with our choices there, is one of the main reasons for redesigning this screen. And for those of you who don't know exactly how that works, basically what happens is a consultant would take this screen, make a copy of it, and then go modify that copy. And then when we upgrade and come with new versions, customer will be stuck with the copy, which is kind of crap. So, what we introduced in the latest version is the possibility of creating what we call a profile for this element, which means that you can go into the system on the profiles, and it shows up here in the edit entity menu, and it comes here. This is the default setup of this component. And so I'm going to create a global profile. You can also have profiles for different groups of users. And then I'm going to add a new field. I would like the priority field to be available in that quick edit thingy, right? And I want it to be 100 pixels wide. And I also have an extra field on requests, which is called refundable. So I'm going to add that. And it's just a small yes/no value. So it just needs to be 50 pixels wide. And in my scenario, I don't need the owner field. So I'm going to go get rid of that. And I want the priority field to be on the top. Like that. And then we're going to just save this profile and go back and looking at the request. Let's see. And so you can see now the whole thing has changed. And we're still running with the standard screen, which is much better than having to, re-implement the standard screen, right? So this component is also used in the view company screen. And it doesn't even have any fields in it. It just has the context menu. I'm sure that some companies would like to have a profile there as well for maybe quick editing a few fields on a company. So let's add the priority. And also there's a field for company that I created, and an extra field. It's a checkbox. It's called support agreement, whether or not they do have a support agreement. So that's a field maybe our supporters want to be able to enable, disable really fast. So I'm saving that, and I'm going back to my company here, Peter's Brewery. And as you can see, we have a checkbox, and if I tick it, saves immediately. And I can change the priority. So these are a couple of changes that help you not needing to customize at all. Then I want to talk about smaller and more precise customizations. And so what is the second most important screen in service? First one is view ticket, and the second one is create ticket. Right. So the create ticket screen, or create request screen, this guy is, I'm sure many of you who are at least who have been working as consultants, you know that this screen is one of those customizable screen. It comes out of the box as a standard custom screen, whatever that means. And you can copy it and make your own versions. You can move fields around and so forth. But again, let's say that all you want to do is add a small business rule, right? Customer comes to you and they say, I would like a default value in this screen, or you should be able to create a request in this category with this priority, or some kind of simple business rule. And I know what happens is that you guys, you need to go and copy that screen and put that business rule into your copy, which is kind of annoying. So what we have created is we have created triggers for these standard screens. So what I can do is I can go into the system here, and I can go, yeah, I want a new trigger. And last year I presented to you how you can make triggers for user interface events in sales. Now we have created, for instance, 3 different trigger points for the new request screen in service. And so I'm going to create that as a small script just to prevent people posting test requests into our system. All the triggers use the new system with getting event data, which contains all the different values and properties of the trigger, or the context that the trigger is running in. So I want to say that if that title begins with test, then I'm going to show an error message, right? Set validation message basically says, give the user this dialog response and block the save. So 2 lines of code, 3 actually, and I enable it and go OK, and then I'm going to go new request. Testing. Try to save. Error message. So these triggers are added now for some of our standard screens, such as new request, new quick request. Also for some of those non-custom screen standard screens, such as edit customer or edit company. And it allows you to do a more fine-grained customization of an installation, right? You don't have to remake a whole screen just to put in some small tests. Okay, moving on. Macros instead of CRM scripts. So macros is kind of a mega trend right now. I mean, there are macro systems popping up all over the place. We have Zapier, we have if this then that. I even have a new robot vacuum cleaner, and on my phone I can go and set different tasks for what should it do when it's done cleaning. So I think visual programming is very hot right now. And we have our integration with Zapier that has already been shown by Mark, for instance. But macros is the built-in system that allows you to describe custom logic without having to program. And has anyone here used macros? Yeah, fair share of hands. Now, we have seen, of course, some limitations, and we just keep trying to improve. So there is no revolution coming in macros, but we keep adding more actions and functions and stuff, so that we're trying to make sure more and more processes or more business rules can be managed with macros instead of scripting, because we think macros is more sustainable, right? It's more people can edit them, they're more easy to look at and read and understand and so forth. So the first thing we've done is that we have created some new tasks since last year. There's add project member, there's create a new sale, create new appointment. And furthermore, we have added more input-output values to these tasks. So let me just give you an example, right? I'm going to create, I have a use case. If we go in sales and we create a new appointment of type proposal, then create a new open sale and navigate there. So I'm thinking, and maybe in some kind of business that would make sense, and you would like to be able to do that with macros. So I'm going to create a new trigger, and I showed you some of this stuff last year, so it's kind of similar after saving appointment. What you're going to see is that we have improved the user interface of macros a bit, because it was a bit non-user friendly. So let's see how that has improved. So now the if part there, we're going to say all conditions are true, and I'm going to say that if it's a new appointment and of a given type. So this thing is new, so it allows you to more easily search for different kind of parameters into the macro. So you say is new, is true, and then I want to search for the type of the appointment, so I can just start typing there and it will show me that parameter. And if it's equal to proposal, well, then the macro will execute, right? We're going to create a new sale. So it has a title, it's going to have an amount. Company, I want to choose the company that we created the appointment for, right? And that's available as a parameter when this trigger is executing. Same thing, for owner, I'm going to use the current associate ID, the person who created that appointment. So we're setting sale type and stage, new action. So this is going to be the navigate to that sale. I would like to use the same if test as in the previous test, right? So we have added two more there that you can just follow the previous if test. If the previous one was true, then you should do this as well. I'm going to show a dialog. I'm going to navigate to using the SO protocol. Say we want to go to a particular sale. And the sale we want to go to is the one that got newly created from the create a new sale task. So this is all it takes to create a simple macro. And I'm going to go here and create a new appointment. It's going to be proposal. See that? And we get the dialog box, and we get a newly created sale, and navigate it to it. So I think with macros like this, it's fairly easy to create some simple automations in the system. Thank you. Okay, this is slightly more geeky, but for the CRMScript coders out there, I hope you will appreciate it, but it's nothing amazing here. But obviously we keep trying to get CRMScript also to be more compact and more precise for what you need. So I just want to mention a few features that we have added. Those of you doing CRMScript programming, you will recognize this as the single most used class in CRMScript, which is querying the database. And I don't know about you guys, but very often I write a small script because I want to see what's in the database and get it back into the screen. And so I write something like this that will add the number of fields that we're going to query, and then a loop where it executes and prints it out. And so just a very small feature here, instead of having to loop and print out, there's a new method that's called execute HTML table. So it's just going to take that query and create an HTML table of it. You can get rid of that loop, execute, and we will see the result is a nice HTML table. So, small shortcut. Secondly, a lot of you guys are writing stuff like this, and it's kind of repetitive here as well. So we just added a small function that allows you to add multiple fields at one time. So I want to have ticket ID, title, category dot full name, and owned by dot username, right? And then we can get rid of all those lines below. A small shortcut to make, quickly create a query. Also want to talk about one small thing that came actually last winter, but maybe not all of you have seen it, when it comes to handling errors in CRMScript. We also introduced try catching, which is, technical geeky term for don't let the whole script explode, but let me just, focus on that little error and move on. So if you have a script like this, and it does something sensitive here in the middle, it's trying to look up some database values, and it could be that that query is going to fail. Maybe, for instance, because that ticket we're trying to look up doesn't exist. So what you can do is you can place it inside a try catch, and inside that catch statement you will have available to your benefit a small variable called error. That's going to give you an error message. And those of you who are doing CRM scripts in our online environment, I think this is a very good way to protect your scripts so that even if it crashes there in the middle, your script can continue above and below, right? And you can log that error or send it on an email to yourself instead of having, the user experience just getting a standard error message. So that's also just a small feature that will help you write better scripts, maybe. Deep script and macro tracing. Has anyone here used it's a year old now, the tracing capacity of CRMScript? Okay, some has. So I think, all modesty aside, I think the tracing is really cool. Because tracing allows you basically to record scripts that are being executed in the live environment, right? You can turn on the tracing on some scripts where maybe a customer has said that this misbehaves every now and then. Turn on the tracing, you're getting a log, and after the customer calls you and says this didn't go well, and you can go back to your logs and script traces and you can see exactly in detail what has happened. Now, if any one of you have ever tried to trace a macro, that's not very exciting because tracing will only take the highest level of the scripting language, which in the macro case, it's a one line. It's a one line with a lot of parameters. So you would see that and you would see nothing more. So it's kind of difficult to see what really went on here. So we did a small changing to the tracing capacity. So what happens now is it traces deep all the way down any CRM script that will be executed for the process you're tracing. So let me just show how that works. Here we have the macro that we just created. I'm going to create a trace for that, register it to be tracing. And then I'm going to go over in sales and again create a new appointment to make sure this thing has executed once. Right, so we're creating our appointment. It's going to be of type proposal. And there we go, new sale has been created. Nothing exciting here, we already seen this. But going back to the tracing, we can refresh and we see a trace, basically a recording of what happened. And now if you go into this guide, like I said, this is the top level, but you can step and you will see these are the macro foundations below that are being executed. So you can see all the details of every script that's being called through triggers and macros and whatnot, helping you understand what really went down. And when you move to the end, last frame of the macro, it will show you a log from the whole macro execution, basically telling you, there we go, preparing to execute task, condition is all of the following, is new, is true, blah, blah, blah. So you get all the details that kind of logs how everything of this happened. And like I said, the tracing gives almost non-measurable overhead. So out with the customers, when you do customizations, you can turn this on. And if a customer calls you and says something went wrong, you can go back and you get a very good detailed view of what happened. So I hope that's going to help you find problems and solve them quickly. Okay, and then finally, custom screens. Has anyone here ever worked with custom screens? Again, how's that feeling? Awesome interface, right?
Yeah, nice luck.
Yeah, won the User Friendliness Award of 2003. So this is how it looks. And in particular, you can see there's some pretty advanced indenting here using spaces. And if you want to move these guys up and down, you have to drag them over there and you have to take one at a time. So we kind of figured, okay, it's time to fix this a little bit. Because we think custom screens is a powerful feature for customizing CRM. So the new version looks like this. Oh. And what you can do here is, of course, you can go hover over each element and you can collapse and expand. And like this. And then if we go and look at one particular element, so you can edit that element and you can add a new one after this one. You can clone an element. Simon, this is for you. And you can move an element. And then there's a preview button in the top right. So now you get a preview of the screen on the right-hand side. I'm going to move the category field a little bit down, like this, and it updates. And same thing, I'm going to move, let's see, the status I think I decided on. Yeah, move that one up. And then maybe I want to move like a bunch of fields at the same time. So let's just go and do like this, and then just move the Properties tab and make it the second tab of the system. And it's as simple as that. So I kind of hope this is going to save you some frustration working on the custom screen part. And so to summarize, we want to give you guys tools so you can have more configuration, less customization. If you need to customize, we want it to be small and precise, such as using triggers instead of having to rewrite the whole screen. We want to improve on the macro system, so you can use macros instead of scripting, because that's more easy to understand for non-programmers. If you need to script, we want the scripts to be fewer lines of code, and in general, some better tools. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Fantastic presentation as always, Donna. Now we're going to, we are on time, but like I asked this morning, we do need a few